Hello everyone, welcome to today's video, and today we're gonna talk about should Star Wars be rebooted or remade. And I'm gonna tell you what I think of this idea, what I think can work and why I think it might not happen. I'm gonna talk to you what I personally think of it. And with that out of the way, let's get started. First off, let's get this one out of the way first. If Star Wars is ever getting a full remake of the universe, we cannot have Kathleen Kennedy be the head of Lucasfilm and have a say in Star Wars. Look, I don't like making these videos. I do not like being critical of people that make those type of movies, but here I have to say, this woman does not know what she's doing. She may have worked on something good in the past, maybe a few successes here and there. I do not say that she haven't, but when it comes to Star Wars, I can't say she had one except from episode 7. I liked episode 7, but the next two movies wasn't that good, and Star Wars is completely unorganized thanks to her. That is one of the many problems, and she continues making bad decision. Do you guys know there's gonna be a movie that is Mandalorian and Grogu, and the season 3 of Mandalorian didn't go down that well? Well, I didn't know that before a few months ago, and I can say it right away. Making a movie of a series that had a really rocky season 3 is not a clever move. So again, I don't want to disrespect her. I don't want to show her in a negative light, but I have to get this off my chest. If Star Wars ever gonna be able to succeed again, this woman must be fired. And for how I see a remake of the universe would be, and yes, I think they should remake the universe, not reboot it. But the reason why I think they should remake it is because I feel like that is the safest option right now. The people, no matter what you do, is gonna compare whatever plan they made to how it was previously. And if you continue a previous continuity of Star Wars, then it's gonna keep having some problems, and that is that you can't erase all the bad things that have happened. And if you're gonna start a reboot that's gonna take decades into the Star Wars future, then you will still have the character of Grogu, which again connects them back to the era of failure that many people's gonna call it. Look, I like Mandalorian. I like the Book of Boba Fett. I like the Kenobi show, but I myself also admit that it's not as good as Star Wars used to be, and that's sad. And I think that if you remake the universe, start completely from the bottom, then you will have a bigger chance to fix those mistakes, because you have a completely new, fresh start. I said people are gonna compare it to what's come before, and that's gonna happen no matter what you do. It's much safer to start from scratch and build the brand back up from the bottom than trying to save something that has died. And yes, some people think that Star Wars has died, and I saw a few episodes of the Acolyte show, and I understand why people hate that show so much. It's awful. So let's start with remaking the original trilogy. The story of Luke and how he overcome the Empire, redeemed his father, and saved the galaxy, told throughout 3 movies, is actually what I think Star Wars need. A new Luke Skywalker, a new Han Solo, a new Princess Leia. And I know I'm gonna get a ton of dislike for saying this, but I think this is the best way. And let's see it this way. We have similar to what comes before, but also different enough that it is its own thing. Have the fight between Obi-Wan and Darth Vader last a bit longer, and have him kill Obi-Wan instead of just slicing him, maybe stabbing him instead. That could actually be pretty great if it's done right. Have revealed that Darth Vader is Luke's father, and then maybe in the same movie reveal that Leia is his sister, and then in the final movie have them all team up to not only redeem his father but also stop the Emperor, but with a shrewd twist, maybe kill off Han Solo or Chewbacca. It could work. I'm not quite sure if they should do that, but it's a possibility. Now, as for spin-off in the time area of the original trilogy, we could have, let's see, 2 shows, 3 comics, and 1 video game. We don't want to feel it overcrowded, so let's see, we start with a show called Star Wars Rebels, an animated cartoon show. It could work great, and we can bring in the crew from that show, like Ezra Miller, Kanan, Zed, Hera, Sabine, and Chopper, and we can have the main Inquisitor be the main villain of that show. Or maybe he could be the main villain of another show, a Kenobi show. I think this could work well because it helps us expand the story a bit, but not too much, and I don't know how many people reads the comic, so with the comic you can expand a little bit more about it. Have maybe the die-core Star Wars fan probably will read them, but we have 1 comic focusing on Darth Vader, we have 1 comic focusing on Boba Fett, and 1 about the main Star Wars crew, but who will focus between episode 5 and 6. If we do it this way, again, we put away the risk of overcrowding it, we give more character time to shine, we build the universe. As I said, the Grand Inquisitor, I said he might work well for a villain for Rebels, but I think it's better if we use him as the main villain for Kenobi show, and have Grand Admiral Thrawn be the main villain of Rebels. We will have a few of the characters of the original trilogy show up in Rebels as animated character, of course, just to help set that this is a bit before the episode 4 of Star Wars, The New Hope. And as for Jedi Survivor, it can, just like the Star Wars comic, it can be set between episode 5 and 6 and focus on complete original cast, maybe the cast from that game. I think this will help Star Wars in the long run to continue having some spin-off either in comic, games or shows, but don't have too much of it and have it more organized. One thing I think they should do different than the Star Wars we have now is that instead of the next being a prequel movies, then we set up the sequel first. That will make it more different, and it will maybe have someone say, oh, so this isn't just a retelling of it all. And the way I see our remake of the sequel goes is that I see we focusing on George Lucas' original plan, I think it was, where he had Darth Maul be the main villain and have the character of Darth Talon and Savage Opress be his apprentices. Look, it's still a little bit different because George Lucas' original idea was only to have 1 of them, but I think we can bring in Savage Opress as well and have him and her working for Maul as his apprentices and abandoning the whole rule of 2. I think that will be great, and focusing on Darth Maul's criminal empire that probably want to take over the galaxy. That's a whole different storyline than we got from Disney Star Wars. And Luke and Leia will still be the main focus point, but we will also see the character of Ahsoka in her later years, and this one's gonna be we will also see characters from Rebels. Some of the characters in the comic show up in one or two of the movies, and I think there should be 3 movies as well. As for spin-off in this era, I think we could have a Mandalorian show and a Boba Fett show, but as for an animated show, I will focus on Luke Skywalker's new Jedi Order. The focus on that show will not be on Luke, but some other Jedis, because Luke will be mostly preferred for the movies. Not that he won't show up at all, but some other Jedi could be used. And as for a comic, we only having one. I think Volume 2 of Star Wars could work well here. And a sequel to the Jedi game I talked previously could work as well. Again, it's a bit similar to what has come before, but still different enough that it is its own thing. And then we go over to prequels. And again, we start with a Phantom Menace that will see Darth Maul as the main villain. We will hop over to Attack of the Clones. The Dooku will be the main villain. And then Revenge of the Sith. Almost the same as it was, but again with key differences. And we see that Darth Maul is obviously going to survive, of course, so that will take some away from that movie, but in overall I think it will work well. And seeing the rise of Palpatine, the fall of Jedi Order, and Anakin's turn to the dark side has always been one of the best part of the prequel trilogy. So I think this one is a no-brainer. Remake the prequel trilogy and try to make it even better. Look, I wasn't the biggest fan of the Phantom Menace or Attack of the Clones. I think they worked well enough, but I really enjoyed Revenge of the Sith. And finally, for the spin-off in this era, we will of course have the Clone Wars show, but I think we should expand it with at least 3 more shows. And we will have the Bad Batch, which is set after Order 66. The same with a Ventress show, set in that same time. And we should have an Ahsoka show that maybe lasts 2 to 3 seasons, and have the first 2 seasons be before Order 66, and have the final season set after that order. And we will also of course have a Clone Wars game that is similar to Star Wars Battlefront. That is the way I think things should go. I think that since I don't have more ideas of where I would want this to go further, maybe I make a part 2 to this video, but this is my pitch for how I would do a Star Wars universe remake. I heard they plan to just make a reboot, like I said earlier, but I think that remaking the entire universe, have it be a bit similar, but also have it to be different, make sure it is its own thing, will make Star Wars great again. And that's it for this video. Do you guys think Star Wars should be remake? Or do you think there's still hope for the current continuity of Star Wars? Do you think my pitch for a remake of Star Wars is a good one? Or do you think it's a bad one? Let me know in the comment section down below. And I really hope to see you guys again next time.